Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Wednesday's episode of the Round Table Talk Show. It has been an interesting morning already. I've had the opportunity to chat with some of our guests, and I know today's guests are definitely going to blow you away. I know I say that every morning, but this morning is a special morning because we've rounded up an eclectic crew of people, and we're going to talk about how we can help you and how maybe you can share with us during these trying times. I am Sharifa Hardy. I'm your host for today's show, and I'm going to introduce you to today's guest. I want to start with the birthday lady. She has a birthday today, so we're going to introduce her on, bring her on first. I want to introduce Alicia
Hi.
Godmasch. She is an Atlanta-based film producer. She's a reader,
Yes.
she's a writer, she's a wife, and she's a believer in all things positive. Good morning, Alicia. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing wonderful, Sharifa. How are you?
I can see you're doing wonderful. I'm fine. Look at that smile. Like that smile just draws people in. It's just
Thank
amazing.
you.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. Our next guest is Mr. Will Bachman. Will is a leading consultant and co-founder of Umbrex, the first global community connecting top-tier independent management consultants with one another. Good morning, Will. How are you?
If I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Oh, you are welcome. So I think you do for a living kind of what I'm trying to do right now, connect all these top-tier people to one another so that we can help the world.
Well, thank you. It's great to see what you're doing. I love the show, and I'm so excited to hear some ideas from the other panelists today.
Yes, that's definitely what we're going to do. And then I love to bring my friends in. Almost every show, I bring in at least a couple of friends, people I've known for some time. And I have to introduce you to Goddess Gloria. Goddess Gloria is a wonderful friend of mine. And anytime I post anything on social media, Goddess Gloria comments and she sends me love and light. And it's so beautiful because sometimes people give you the little hearts or they say good job. But when Goddess Gloria comments, it's like a paragraph, like all these emojis and that I love you and what you're doing is so wonderful. And you're a goddess and keep going. And I was like, everybody has to have a Goddess Gloria in their lives. Goddess Gloria is the author of Life Shift Session, and she's a master of spiritual healing, and she's a clairvoyant medium. Good morning, Goddess Gloria. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much. What a great introduction. We all need each other, and that's what I believe in, and we all have to help each other, and it starts with me. I can't expect you to help me if I'm not supporting you and loving you. And so I believe that whatever energy you put out, it comes back tenfold. So I try to put out as much prosperity and passion and fun and miracles and blessings so that we can all ascend together.
And you do it well, my friend. You do it well. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Now, my next guest has a very interesting name. I love the name, but whenever I look at it, whenever I see it, I almost want to change it because I always hear music. That's like my thing for everybody. Like I hear music. So I do have Sir Aimézing here, who is so amazing. That's the new name, like so amazing. So Sir Aimézing, who is so amazing. He's an author, he's an influencer, he's in Atlanta, Georgia as well. But one of the things that we're going to talk about with Sir Aimézing is that he's a part of quarantine talks. He does live quarantine talks, and he's been doing them during this time frame to help everyone else. So he's going to join us on the show with some information, some tips, some guidance, some advice, or maybe just some love that he's sharing with us today. Good morning, Sir Aimézing. How are you?
I am blessed and motivated. Good morning to all. I'm super excited to be here. I'm part of a star-studded crew right here, so I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say. Look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining us. Now, for the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about what's going on in the world. We have been talking about how the quarantine affects everyone. We've been talking about COVID-19. And one of the things that we have discussed is how it affects our young people, how it affects our children. So we have all of these adults who come on board and say, yes, this is what the kids feel. This is what the kids are doing. And then I got this email from this young man who's a journalist. And he said, Sharifa, I'm 16 years old, and I want to talk about how COVID-19, the coronavirus, is affecting us. And I was like, do your parents know what you're doing? And he was like, yes, I have their full support. And I was like, okay, then you can come on the show. I'd love to introduce you to 16-year-old Jackson Gosnell. Good morning, Jackson. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sitting at the round table as the voice of the future generations.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So I keep telling people one of the things that I came up with this show around March 3rd. I was running for Long Beach City Council, and they didn't want to give me city council. So I was like, if you're not going to give me city council, I'm going to take the round table, because the one thing that I learned and nothing else was that it's not just one person. I don't care if that person sits in the White House. It's never just one person who makes all these decisions. It's a community. It's a group of people who come together and say, this is what we want. This is what we feel. So I said, let me get some people together and let's talk about what's going on in the world. And so for about 2 to 3 weeks, I was in this moment of anxiety of, well, what am I going to talk about? What are the topics? What can I ask people? Should I write them preset questions, or, what's going to happen? And then we're here, we're in quarantine, and that's all anyone was talking about. And so I was like, okay, we'll see how it affects people, what's going on in the world, how it's affecting them personally, how it's affecting them business-wise. And so I always start with business for some reason. I just like that. So I want to talk to Will first. I want to let us know from an entrepreneur, a businessman's perspective, how has this affected you? How has this affected your business? And what are some of the things that you learned through this process?
Thank you, Sharifa. I'll answer that in 2 parts if I can. So one is, I'd like to give 7 ideas that you listeners can adopt. Not necessarily all of them, but here's 7 different ideas of what folks can do if you have maybe some more time available than normal. So number 1 is thinking about, and then I'll talk about kind of what I'm doing personally around this and how it's affecting me. But in terms of, for everyone, number 1 is thinking about investing in your skills. There's just an amazing amount of resources available, and so many of them are free online, from Udacity to EDX to Coursera, and then of course just YouTube if you search the right stuff. So investing in your skills, think about building maybe some skill that's outside what you normally do for a living. Maybe you learn about data science or search engine optimization. Learn some new skills so you're more valuable to the market, on the other side. Second thing is, if you have a small business, or if you're an entrepreneur, think about investing now in some of the infrastructure or some of the technology for your firm. So maybe you've been running a small business. Think about getting in place a CRM system, or electronic signature, or putting in place an expense management system, or putting in place other types of technology to support your business if you have a small business. So number 3 is around marketing. So separate from just the infrastructure, think about spending time to improve your website or your social media profile, whether that's LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, what have you. Think about improving that, or white papers, that. Fitness, right? And by fitness, that's a broad term. Perhaps we can use this time now to try to eat more healthy, mindfulness, get enough sleep, get some exercise, do some stretching. So think about just fitness as a broad category. Number 5 is using this time for reflective exercises. So some people like to do that on the computer, on your phone, or just get a journal and do some writing. And number 6, just in terms of knowledge, reading, and number 7, making something. So it's incredibly satisfying, and it feels like you feel creative and productive. I'll share something here my daughter just made and gave it to me. Look at this. So this is a little painting.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's
So,
beautiful.
thank you. It's Veronica there. So making something can be satisfying, whether that's a physical thing or making some sourdough bread or making some content for online. In terms of what I'm doing personally, to answer that question, so with Umbrex, it's a global community of independent consultants. We stepped back and thought, what can we do to help? We're trained consultants. So we said, wow, a lot of small businesses are going to be suffering. So we have now 200 volunteers that we've organized that have volunteered to advise small businesses. We're talking restaurant owners, Main Street retail, on how to respond to this crisis. There's all sorts of advice out there on how to grow your business. There's not as much advice about what happens if a lockdown shuts down your business for a couple months. So any small business owners out there, you go to umbrex.com, umbrex.com. The far right-hand tab is the pandemic playbook. You can sign up there to request support for your small business. We have volunteers who are standing by to help on that. So that's one thing I've been spending some time working on, Sharifa. And then I've also
been website one more time.
Sure. So Umbrex, it's like umbrella of excellence. umbrex.com. If you go to that website, just in the tab on the right-hand side on the top is Pandemic Playbook. Click on there, and then there's a link to request support for your business. There's also a whole lot of resources that we've curated on how to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program, on state by state, a lot of resources, and we keep adding to that. So that's one thing that I've been putting my time into organizing this group of volunteers and then getting the word out. The Wall Street Journal covered the effort. And then the other thing that I've been doing is putting together webinars. So we have a webinar later today on the Paycheck Protection Program for consultants. And then I've also been following my advice about making something. So my podcast, which is Unleashed, How to Thrive as an Independent Professional. I normally do about 1 episode a week. I've kind of gone into hyperdrive and been doing an episode every day recently, just about. So I have 238 on technology tools to think about putting in place. 239 is around marketing collateral. 246 is about investing in your skills, like I mentioned. And then for some of this, been something that's been on the back burner, but episode 250 was about putting together an estate plan. So I've been putting out a lot more episodes there and trying to get out information that's helpful. So that's kind of how it's affecting me, Sharifa.
Wow, Will, I loved it. I wasn't even expecting all of that. Usually, I won't say usually, because we have some amazing guests. We had Bread yesterday who talked about how to make sourdough bread. So it was interesting that you made that point. I'm like, I think he was tuning in. I think he's been watching the show a little bit. But
I got my
excellent points.
Sourdough starter right over here in the corner here. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Where are you located?
So we live in New York City.
Okay.
But given we have a place out in Pennsylvania, it's a farmhouse that's been in my family for several generations. So we came out here to Pennsylvania to help physically distance from folks. And I prefer the physically distance rather than this term socially distance, because I think now more than ever we need to be socially closer than ever before. So I like using the term physically distancing.
Can you send us a loaf of bread?
Yeah, just give me your address, Gloria, and be in the mail.
Yummy.
You brought it, Will. Thank you, because I have so many questions, and you had it ready. I want to go back to the webinar that you mentioned. What time is the webinar?
So the webinar today is it's going to be at 1 p.m. today, and we do plan to record it. So if there's independent consultants out there who are hearing this, after, then they can look me up on, I'm primarily a LinkedIn person, so send me a message on LinkedIn. If you look for Will Bachman on LinkedIn, I'll get you a link to it. Or if you go to, again, umbrex.com, we'll put the recording up there. So if you go to umbrex.com and visit the pandemic playbook page, there'll be a chance to access the recording as well as a summary of the guidance on how to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. A lot of people have questions, especially entrepreneurs and small business owners. You know, the banks are still figuring it out, and you know, each bank is different. So we're trying to get that information out there. This is an important thing to prioritize, and for folks in the US, of getting your applications in as soon as possible before the money runs out.
And I just want to be clear. You said 1 p.m. So it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, correct?
That's right, 1 p.m. Eastern time today. So just about, I guess, you know, in an hour and 45 minutes.
Yes.
And if you aren't able to register for today, we're actually full up. But for folks who are interested in hearing it, they can send us a message, and I'll get them a recording of it.
Okay, so that's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And you mentioned volunteers, 200. That's amazing to be able to put that together. Are you still looking for volunteers?
Absolutely. So if you are a experienced consultant or an experienced business person, we're happy to get more volunteers. On the same page that I mentioned before, the pandemic playbook page on umbrex.com. We also have a link if you'd like to volunteer your efforts. We welcome more folks to sign up as well for that.
Wow, that's what you're doing. I applaud you. I thank you again. I invite everyone to support our guests, because I know what you're doing is not easy. To round up 200 people during this time who are willing, qualified people who are willing to help others. I applaud you. I commend you, and I hope everyone shares the information and tunes in about 2 hours to learn the information, because everybody's been asking about the SBA loans, the Paycheck Protection Program. So I know that's going to be a wealth of information. And like you mentioned, if you missed the live, watching it in the archives. I want to move over to Sir Aimézing, because again, like we mentioned, you've been doing quarantine talks. I love the name quarantine talks. I think more than anything during this time, that's really a lot of what we can do. We can go out, we can do this, but we can talk, we can communicate with each other. So can you tell us, Sir Aimézing, a little bit about quarantine talks, how this has affected you, and being an influencer? How has this changed things for you?
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Will. I had to get a notebook because I just wanted to take notes and spread that information. To give a little bit of background too. So I'm actually from Buffalo, New York, and I'm down here with my family in Atlanta, and ended up coming for a weekend, and it just extended. So there's a lot of different business owners, those small business owners that I'm connected with in Buffalo, that have been trying to do similar things as far as webinars. So that information, Will, is very vital. I definitely want to pass that on. Quarantine Talks actually started, it's a business partner and a mentor with HBCU, the ambassador, where we just want to start utilizing lives. So we started, well, why don't we just do a live conversation weekly? It'll help you, it'll help me. We want to engage with people. And the person who runs it actually is a preacher. So it's really faith-based. And that's why we chose Sunday. And I mean, it's just been growing and extending. And it's really just been both of us going through different journeys throughout the week and just trying to stay positive and put that word and let us all understand that, you know, God has an ultimate plan. And even through all of this, all the turmoil, we definitely send condolences and love to the families that are impacted and affected daily by this virus. We want people to understand that this is not the end. And there is going to be a time. This is the time to really sharpen the toolbox. This is the time to take advantage of the time that you get to spend with family. So the blessing of me being able to be down here is that I've got my little brother and little sister who, most of the time when I come to Atlanta, it's 2 to 3 days, maybe 4. Now they've got Big Brother here for an extended amount of time, which we want to take full advantage of. And it's also an opportunity to provide tips. So tips that I would give out to people, there's something that we did a few weeks ago, is go through a photo album. When you're at home, I love looking at old photos. Like, I love the feeling of seeing a family member when they were younger, or just going back to that memory. These are the times that we cherish. And when you put that type of energy into your mind, it makes things just run a bit smoother. And I think that's the most important thing, is causing that belief. And you asked me another question, right?
It was all wonderful. We're doing good. How has this, my question was, how has this affected you personally and professionally? And I think personally, part of that is you're there for extended amount of time. We had a guest on our show the other day who was from New York. He went to Ghana. He was a travel influencer, went to Ghana, and he bought a one-way ticket, and he's now still in Ghana. He plans to be in Ghana till, at least he said, July or August, because of the way things are with the virus. So I'm gonna ask you the same question. Do you have any idea of how long you plan on staying in Atlanta? Is there a set time of when this ends, or, you know, when I get to this point, you're going to leave?
I think this was the opportunity that's just been a part of the plan that he had for me. I see ideally, I don't think I will be leaving. I think it'll be more of an opportunity where I'm going to be bouncing back between Buffalo and Atlanta. I will be here for an extended amount of time during Corona, but I don't see that changing. This is kind of a lifestyle. And as far as impacting me from an influencing standpoint, one of the biggest things that I had working for 2020 was I was actually going to be doing monthly events. So I specialize in events as far as networking. I'm a motivational speaker. So I had speaking engagements that ended up being canceled. A lot of them were I had middle school, high school, colleges, everything was canceled, all based out of my city. And then from a business standpoint, a lot of networking events that I was going to be helping out with and partnering on, all of that stuff was canceled, which was it was a twofold. It was going to be being able to connect people, but it also was going to be as far as building the brand and building the engagement and building the audience, where now things have shifted. So now I basically, kind of like Will was saying, I've had to just go to the drawing board and, okay, how can I be a motivational speaker who's trying to build the reach while not being able to be physically in front of anybody? So now it's utilizing webinars, and I can't call myself an author yet because my book doesn't drop until the 27th. But I do have a book that's dropping on the 27th, and then I have more books that will be following that as well. So it's really been a bit of a transition, but it's super exciting. Like, I'm excited to be on here and learn from people. And ultimately, it was just a change in direction. I don't know if anybody's read The Alchemist in here.
I have, yes.
Okay, so you know what the omens are, right? And you understand the journey that Santiago was on and all the different people that he met along the way. It was all in good time. And maybe in those moments, he didn't understand why the kid robbed him when he got to the city. He didn't understand why the alchemist wouldn't give him straight answers. He didn't understand these things, but towards the end, when he finds that treasure, without giving away too much, I strongly recommend you, especially you, Jackson. Okay. It will change your whole outlook on everything. But understanding that this is just a part of the journey. There was always a plan for me to be in Atlanta in some capacity. It just happened with me only bringing like 3 shirts and a pair of jeans.
That's the alchemy in it. It just happens. We don't know how it happens. But I wanted to go back to one of the things that you said. Congratulations on your book. You are an author.
Yes.
Writing a book.
Yeah.
Writing a book makes you an author. You may not be a published author, but on the 27th, you will be a published author. But you wrote it, you made it happen. Tell us a little bit about your book and where we'll be able to find it on the 27th.
On the 27th, you will be able to find it on Amazon Kindle. And April is a very important month for me. So I'll start with this. April 8th, that's today's date. It's actually been 10 years since my maternal grandmother passed away, who was someone that was like my best friend. So today's a special date for me as well. It's very memorable for my family. April 18th is my stepmother's birthday. So April is always an important month for the women in my life. And then April 27th is my mother's birthday. And that's why I selected that date to release the book. The name of the book is Everyone Needs a Hero. Why Can't It Be You? It is a bio where I talk about some of the things that happened to me during my childhood that really nobody knows. My parents don't even know to any extent, but it also is a self-help book in giving a background to some of the changes, some of the disciplines that I implemented, and some of the things that I use in order to even be on this Zoom with you all today. So that's really the basis of the book. I wrote it for anybody who ever felt inadequate, anybody who ever felt they didn't feel fulfilled, and they had all different types of situations, whether it be anxiety, whether it be points of suicide. Anybody that's ever been down, it's written to show that every single one of us has a hero inside of us. And even through all the trauma that we go through, even through all the issues, we can awaken that. And it's really just written to inspire, educate, and motivate as many people as we can reach.
You know what? You are so amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
I would love to connect you with my brother because he's a motivational speaker too. And funny enough, his birthday is April 18th. And
Wow.
he works with Tony Robbins a lot and travels all over the place. And I love the idea of your book. I think that that's fantastic. I think every one of us can relate to that subject matter. And I think that it's a very, very positive thing. And he's all about positivity too. So maybe we could sidebar, and I definitely like to connect the both of you together. He's over in New Jersey, so I'm sure you'll meet at some point in time.
Awesome.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I mean, that's the alchemist working. When you truly want something, the universe conspires and helping you to achieve it. So definitely would love to. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Amen. And Alicia, thank you for that. You're so positive, so helpful, so giving. How has this affected you in your situation?
Well, as you know, working in the film industry, it's been really insane with what's happening with COVID-19. However, I really feel like it has been an opportunity for all of us in the film world, just because we're also very passionate about what we do. It's very absorbing what we do. And sometimes we really don't, because of our crazy hours and things, don't have a chance to really reconnect with our families, you know, because we're gone away on projects so long. Those projects last sometimes like months at a time. We're away with only a visit, you know, to our families. So this has really actually been an opportunity for me to get close. For my husband, who is a controller for a German company, he's always working as well. So the fact that we're both kind of quarantined together is really something else. And in addition, my stepdaughter Katerina, she had an opportunity to quarantine with us for a little bit, and it was just great bringing the family together. So I'm really looking at it, despite the financial ramifications of this virus, as a positive. And going through this together, we can come out, you know, stronger as a family. And it also forces you to put yourself in a situation where you're looking for, like Will and Sir Aimézing brought out, like different ways to network, different ways to reach out to people, different ways to find streams of income, and different opportunities that you've put off in the back burner for so long. Well, now you have an opportunity to expound upon those ideas that you had, to get your book written. I'm also in the process of writing a book. It's science fiction, however, but I do hope that it does have, you know, resonates with people in a positive way, and especially for female empowerment. It's so funny because Goddess Gloria was talking about how I have a strong personality, and there it goes. So you're absolutely right. So yeah, so I'm trying to do this whole thing where, you know, empowering women specifically. So I had put that off on the back burner for a long time. It was one of those ideas that had come to me, you know, during the night, and I woke up and I'm like, wow, this is something that I should pursue. Well, now that I'm in quarantine, I have the opportunity to do that, to get that book out there, and to talk about, you know, the negative ramifications of negative energy. You know, how does that affect you? How does that affect your personality and stuff like that? So that's something, my way to give to people is through what I do, and, you know, through writing and through film and stuff. So I've had a chance to reflect upon that. And I think that, especially for those in the entertainment world, this is a fine time to reach out to others. This is a fine time to get yourself involved in a charity, at least sign up until the quarantine time is finished. You know, do something for others. And if you do something for others, you won't be so focused on your own issues, because they'll work themselves out, you know, and for the most part, none of us are going to end up, hopefully and prayerfully, on the street. You know, it's just going to be a tough hill that we have to go over. And then after that, we'll be able to get back to where we were and progress, and we'll be different. And this is something that's worldwide. So a lot of people are shifting paradigms now. So that's how I've been looking at it. And I think that it's a good way for us to really understand what's most important in life. And that's not so much money as it is connections, as it is family, as it is loving other people, as it is bringing light to other people. I think that those are the beautiful things, and those are the foundations that we really have to, you know, take advantage of and focus on during this point in time.
Yes, what you said was interesting. I know that entertainment is definitely one of those industries that has been affected. I have a close friend of mine who's a top talent agent in Hollywood, and I was speaking to her, and she was giving me this whole story on how she's about to go buy an analog radio and her cans of beans and water, and she's about to head to the woods. And I'm like, okay, you're a talent agent. How are you going to manage talent in the woods? And she's like, Sharifa, there is no talent. Production is shut down. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing to do. So she's gonna be a woodsman or something. So I know it's definitely been affected, but at least you're using it as a positive. It's still smiling. I can see that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and one of the reasons why I smile so often too is because now I can have my glass of wine before 5 o'clock.
Awesome.
No judgment, you know? So, yeah, no, but on a serious note, it's great. I mean, I haven't really had the opportunity to spend this much concentrated and focused time on my family in a long time. I've been in the industry for quite some time now, and been around the industry. And before that, I was in the corporate world. So again, I never really had time to really focus, you know, go and say hi to my husband if he's just on his computer doing something. I never really had those opportunities to do that, but now I can, you know, and so I just, again, just have to, you know, leave it to a higher power to really just work out those things that are out of my control, because worrying about it is only going to damage my health, you know, and it's not worth it. Because again, I really feel like those things will work themselves out. And I really feel like even this, for me personally, is probably happening for some kind of reason. And I feel that that reason is to maybe focus on, you know, this project that I had a long time ago, you know, not just for the book that I'm writing, but also for the films that I've been able to write a couple of different screenplays and focus on those and getting those toward distribution and stuff like that with my business partner, Joe Howell. We have a production company, Moswell Films. And so I've been able to really move that forward. And so has he, just because, you know, now we can really focus on our projects, and that's what it is. You know, we're just really going forward.
Awesome.
Yes, I love it. Now, Goddess Gloria, I know that Alicia mentioned women's empowerment. I know you're all about that. Sir Aimézing mentioned the importance of certain dates in April. And I'm like, okay, I can't, you know, Goddess Gloria is going to have something to say about all of this. Talk to us, Goddess Gloria, about how this has affected you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I happen to be very blessed with the gift of ADHD. And
Never heard it said like that before, but okay.
Yes. It's an abundance of energy. My mother passed away. Today's her birthday. She passed away 7 years ago. And when she passed away, I didn't want to fall into a spiral of depression. So I started all of these projects and businesses. Back in 2007, I started an organization called Goddess Force. And in that organization, it's women empowerment. And my goal through that organization is to help as many women become millionaires as possible. And I love it. I did have a lot of events planned before the shutdown with three different meetings a week through the Goddess Force organization. And what we've done is we've turned them into Zoom meetings, and the businesses that we were collaborating with, we're all still helping each other through this time. We have to be creative and help each other. And what I did for myself, I do a lot of different things. One of the things that shut down is comedy. I'm a stand-up comic, and I had a lot of shows booked, and that's all on pause for now. In that area, I'm taking an additional comedy class. So I'm writing new material, and that will be out in about 8 weeks. I also own my own line of cannabis oils and edibles. And through this time, I've been delivering, especially to people people that have terminal illnesses, cancer, and serious diseases. I make oils and edibles that are specially made with no sugar, no flour, no carcinogens, so that people can heal and get healthy. We're also building a Church of Sacred Light. It's in the building process, and I'm glad that we're not open yet because that would be difficult.
Yes.
But we're still in all of the red tape with the city, and so there's a lot of projects to be done. And one of my favorite things that I'm doing now is the classes that I teach, like you mentioned, I have a book called Life Shift Session. And in that book, what I do is I help people wake up and see with their third eye. I put all my secrets into that book just in case I die. And I teach a workshop from it. And so what I'm doing now is every Tuesday night, I do a community healing meditation through Zoom where you can come on. It's donation based, but donations are not expected. Everyone is welcome. And what I do during that healing meditation is I cleanse you, heal you, and connect you to your ancestors so that you can interpret your own messages. Of all the things that I do, that's my favorite thing to do, to give people the inner peace and security and clarity that they're looking for. So I think that during this time, my life has shifted. I just like you, I'm a people person, and I'm always doing events, hosting events, or doing stand-up comedy. And now that I'm not doing that, I'm here at home, and I have to tell you, I love it. I live with my daughter, she's 21, and my son doesn't live with me, but I talk to him a lot. And I've always made a direct correlation with my outside world in direct correlation to how I treat my children and how they treat me. And I'm super excited because my 21-year-old daughter and I, we hold each other in high respect, high love, and honor. And I'm really excited about what that is going to interpret in the outside world. So,
That's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
And it sounds amazing. And I might have to go check out one of your webinars or your Zooms and find out how to speak to my ancestors. I don't know, but I'm sure they're talkative. I don't know that much.
they're always with you and they're always obeying every command. And so my message to everybody is be hyper vigilant that what you think about, what you're feeling serves your higher purpose. And it's really easy to get negative right now. I do it too because I'm human and I'm limited. And it's easy to spiral in fear and anxiety and stress. And when I catch myself in fear, I celebrate that I caught myself, and I call out to all my ancestors, to my mothers and my grandmothers. And I'm like, thank you for helping me hold myself in highest self-regard and helping me. And thank you for helping me stay focused on my mission. And like I said, I have a lot of projects, and I honestly don't know what I'm doing in any of them because my background is in stockbroker. I was a stockbroker for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the way that I'm handling all of this, I'm in full surrender. And every day I make sure that I'm completely healthy, vibrant, and ready to be of service with my talents, my skills, and abilities. And it's been a busy time, even though I'm shut down from events. I've been doing a lot of interviews, and I got asked to be in a movie. So
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
thank you.
That's kind of cool. I have to go to the set with you. I'll be your plus one. It was just work me into this movie somehow. You know, I always bring this back to me. Like this is about me. But congratulations to you. One of the things I wanted to ask you is you mentioned the comedy, and that's how we initially met when I was putting on a comedy show, and you were the headliner for the show. Great set, great show. But I've seen a lot of the comedians are doing, I believe, what is called comedians for COVID-19 or something. It's like a heal the world kind of thing that they're doing, and it's all via Zoom. Have you considered doing your stand-up comedy, via Zoom?
I did actually on March 28th. I did a comedy show, an international comedy show with a group called International Chanting for Hope and Peace. And I got to do 13 minutes online, and people from all over the world joined us, and it was a lot of fun. And yes, we do have more shows planned. I'm super excited about writing this new material. And my goal, my life mission and purpose, and my biggest gift is the ability to wake people up out of their bodies so that we continue this human experience in our higher selves. And I love doing it through comedy. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, comedy's
You're a
not.
stockbroker. I learned something new about you today. I would have never, ever imagined in my life that you used to be for 25 years. Like that's interesting to me.
Yes, I didn't look the way I look now. I looked like a business person. My hair was straight and I used to wear business suits. And all of the people that knew me as a stockbroker can't believe that I do what I do now. And everybody who's met me now can't believe I used to be a stockbroker. But yes, indeed. And the clients that I built over that time period still call me for advice.
Wow.
I'm gonna call you for advice too, but this is a lesson that we want to point out. All of this is just for Jackson, not for me, but for Jackson, because we want to tell you that you can live different lifetimes in one lifetime. One day you're a stockbroker, the next day you're a stand-up comedian, then the next day you're a journalist. So never be afraid to start over. So again, Jackson, 16 years old, you're a journalist, you're here with us today. How has this been for you?
Well, it's been very interesting. You know, a lot of news is happening as a result of coronavirus. It's all you see on TV. Aside from one thing, I was just following some breaking news. Maybe your viewers are interested. Bernie Sanders has ended his presidential bid just a few minutes ago. So yes, that's news that I just found out. But back to coronavirus, because it's the talk every day now. It's impacted me more as a student than as someone who covers the news, because I've had to make this transition. Okay, I'm starting to work from home. I've got to figure out how to make it all work and make it work well, for that matter. And so my teachers have been helpful. They have been easy on us, we'll say, and our grades are not too hard. They've been doing participation, so it's not accuracy, because I guess they understand it is a bit difficult working from home. And another point on that, I've talked to a lot of my peers, and many are lucky enough to have internet. However, some don't. And so the ones who don't have internet, they're having a struggle here in terms of getting their work done, because they don't have an outlet to do that. And our school district has tried to help those people by putting buses, because all of our buses have Wi-Fi. They're putting them in different parts of the county, and that's helping some, but it's not helping everyone. So it does seem like this whole e-learning thing would be great for the students who are impacted by the coronavirus, but there are some drawbacks as well that often fall through the cracks and many people don't really see.
Okay, I thought you were going to expand on those drawbacks, Jackson. I'm waiting to hear from you.
Well, I mean, I've made an adjustment by working from home. It's been pretty good for me. I did have an issue with one of my teachers and the grades earlier last week, but we got that all sorted out. And so it's been smooth sailing since then.
That sounds like a story, Jackson. We all want to hear what happened between you and that teacher. But now I'm giving you a hard time, Jackson. Don't ignore me. But I did want, seriously, when I got your email, the first question that came to mind for me is I have an aunt who her granddaughter is quarantined with her. And so my aunt received 3 separate packages. There were a packet per week from the school for her granddaughter. Each packet has 60 pages, which the school said, go print this out. And so my aunt called me like, I don't know what to do. I'm about to go to FedEx and print this out. And so when I looked at it, it has 60 pages per packet, at least 3 packets. That would cost her almost $200 to print at Kinko's. And so I was explaining this on one of the shows on the round table, and one of my guests said, well, at least she received a packet. She said, here in Austin, we didn't even receive a packet. The school literally told them, well, just teach the kids something. That was the extent of their lesson plan. Like, teach them something. I'm like, what's something? She was like, I don't know. I've been teaching them how to, do a podcast, maybe, looking for things online. But they did not receive any sort of packets or guidance. You're in Greenville, South Carolina, Jackson. What did you receive?
So we use this service. It's Google Classroom. And so our teachers are able to send us assignments through that platform. And for those who don't have internet, the school had printed a packet and they were distributing those at the school. And if, of course, you didn't have transportation to get to the school, they utilized the bus drivers to actually deliver the packets to your house if you were unable to go get them. So those are some of the, I guess, proactive steps they're taking to ensure that learning is still going on. I know that some states have announced that they will finish completely online this year. I believe Georgia is one of those.
Yes.
Here in South Carolina, I know that we are supposed to go back on May 1st. However, I was at a press conference with the governor recently, and my question to the governor and the education officials was, we're expecting this spike in these COVID-19 cases upcoming. So obviously, with more cases, we don't want to put children back into schools because that's just spreading the virus around. So I asked, why not go ahead and make that announcement now, like other states, if we're going to finish online for the rest of the year, as opposed to making it later? And their response to me was that they were still monitoring things. And I guess that is a good step. You don't want to make a decision too early, but at the same time, you have to leave enough time to prepare for the unknown. And graduation, I mean, many seniors are missing out on those experiences that they only get in high school. Prom, you know, there's dances, I mentioned graduation. So a lot of my senior friends are kind of upset that they're missing out on these experiences, which is very unfortunate. And so I guess our schools are taking good steps to ensure that all of this is as smooth as possible. But, you know, there are a lot of cons to doing this as well. And of course, it's nobody's fault, but the virus itself. And I guess we just all have to make the best of it, or at least that's what I'm trying to do.
I love it. You gotta love Jackson. Jackson said, I was at a press conference and I asked the governor. I'm like, you
Ooh.
go, Jackson.
Yeah, that's
I'm 10 years old, stepping up to the plate. Come on.
That's
Can I get your autograph?
I haven't got that request yet. Maybe when I'm a bit more famous.
Well, you're gonna be famous by the time all of this is over. Just keep doing
Sure.
what you're doing. I think it's amazing. I love it. I think you're great. And I come back, Jackson. Definitely come
Of
back
course.
because I want to see your progress. I'm gonna be following you, and 20 years from now, I'm gonna tell everybody when he was 16, he was on my show. That's gonna be one of those things that I get to brag about. Watch, best believe, mark my words. Will, you gave us a lot from the business perspective, which I was definitely impressed with. I love everything that you're doing. Were you working at home before, or did you go to a brick and mortar?
So yeah, I've actually been working from home mostly for about 10 years. You know, sometimes I'll go and work at a client site. So working from home is pretty typical for me. Sharifa, I actually wanted to follow up on something that, you know, Sir Aimézing said, and Alicia and Goddess Gloria, kind of two additional ideas for listeners. So Sir Aimézing talked about, he's been looking at photographs, which is great. One thing that, you know, we've been doing in our family for about 10 years, and this is something that, you know, folks might want to do at home if you haven't before, is every year, you know, we create so many photographs these days, right? With our cameras, with our phones, and so many of them, you know, they go through our social media feed and then they're kind of gone.
Mhm.
It's a really nice thing. What we do every year is we take the 10 or 20,000 photographs that we took, we curate those down to 200 or 300 or 400, and we make a nice 11 by 14 photo book that we
Awesome.
for that year. And it's been such a nice thing now to have those books. I used to use my publisher. We now use Shutterfly, and we get the big size ones, 11 by 14. They're super expensive, but if you wait and you create one, like they'll typically go on sale for 50 or 70% off. So I wait for that. And then these books are just beautiful. You keep on the shelf for years. So now if you have some time, it's a great time to like go through those photographs and curate them. Maybe you do it a year by year kind of book for each year. So that's one idea. And then the other idea, talking about relationships and so forth. And, you know, Goddess Glory talked about connecting with the ancestors. Well, you know, in terms if you have, you know, Ancestors Alive today, just sort of somewhat randomly in February, I started this thing with my dad where, and now we've been continuing it, is I've been calling him once a week, but rather than just chit-chatting, I'm interviewing him from 1 hour each week and recording the story of his life. and we're kind of splitting up by segments. So we did an hour on elementary school, an hour in high school, an hour on college, an hour on his time in the Army, and then an hour on grad school, an hour on his, his early years of his job in the 70s. So we're kind of marching through his life. And I don't do much interviewing or questioning. It's just like, tell me about, how you met my mom and the story until you got married. And he just goes. And I'm recording those. So that's something that, for folks who are trying to connect with your parents and, you sort of run out of things to say, I'm hearing so many stories that I never heard before. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience.
What a blessing to have that passed down from your parents. I wish that we would have had the technology while my parents were still alive.
I know. So for any folks that have, parents or aunts or uncles or grandparents, it's a nice way to connect rather than just sort of like, oh my God, the latest, press conference. Is go back to the past, ask for those stories. You might hear some stories you never heard before, and you'll preserve them then for your kids. My kids are maybe now, right, a little too young to have the patience to listen to them, but someday they'll want to hear those stories. There's a lot of ways to record a phone call. You could either do a Zoom conference and record that, or you can get, various different ways to record a conference call. So I encourage folks to think about doing some oral history.
Thank you.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. Alicia, what are your thoughts? Are you, because you're in production, are you looking at photos, creating more photos, having more conversations with older elders?
It's funny that Sir Aimézing brought up the whole photo, review thing, because I did a lot of spring cleaning, my husband and myself. He took the outside, I took the inside, and we just cleaned everything and, and like reorganized stuff. And it was funny because I came across these photos from when I did a lot of traveling in my corporate life and spent a lot of time living in different countries. And so I have a photo album from each country that I lived in. I lived in Malta, Switzerland for a while, and Germany. And so thing is that I came across photo albums and I thought to myself, why don't I just sit down and look at, my experiences at the Czech Republic, when I was in the Czech Republic for a while, or Italy or Malta. And I ended up not doing that, but I will go back downstairs and just take a few minutes to review those photos and stuff. And I think what Will brought out about, creating these photo albums is a really great idea. And I used to be, more active with that and creating photo albums and things of what had been happening over the past year or two. But I haven't done that, but I will revisit that idea and definitely, make these photo albums, because it is very important. It's one thing, like I have all of my photos backed up on another, on a cloud server, but it's one thing to have it on a cloud and see it whenever in a, it's digitized form. And it's another thing to actually touch the pages of your photo album and look at it and really just see all these little details. Yeah, up close. That's a whole different thing. And I know for the younger generations, a lot of them are used to, taking the Kindle books and stuff like that and just swiping. I am the kind of person where I have to buy a book because I like to feel the pages, and I like to dog ear and stuff like that. And leave a bookmark someplace and go back and read it again. I'm that kind of person. So I think actually I will go back and make these photo albums and just have them and, make sure that when I'm drinking my coffee and doing my, meditation and stuff, that I can kind of sit and kind of look through those and appreciate and feel gratitude for those moments that I was able to experience.
I love it. I think we are used to, especially in these generations, more of the digital aspect as opposed to the hard copy. But it's one thing that I want to point out that you mentioned, Alicia, in this whole conversation. One of the things that I've been discussing is that I believe America specifically has always been go, 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 go. We've always been focused on the almighty dollar. We've had these 10-hour, 12-hour days at work and then we have a 1 hour commute each way. And family has not, in my opinion, my humble opinion, been our priority. It hasn't been our focus.
Right.
And I always, because my background before all this in corporate America was travel. I worked for American Express. I was one of the people who built cheaptickets.com. So my first job out of high school was working for TWA, for Trans World Airline. So I've had a lot of experience, but I always talk about Malta. For instance, Malta shuts down for the summer. A lot of their business is not done. They take that time for their families. If you go to a lot of the Hispanic cultures, they shut down for lunch because they have lunch together as a family. So I believe, even in the worst of times, I believe there's a blessing in every curse. And that's what for me, I have felt the blessing it's forced us to come together as a family. It's forced us to do exactly what Will was talking about, have these conversations with our elders, with our parents, with, other people, whereas what we have normally been doing, we would have been at work. So this allows us the opportunity to reset our priorities. So I'm enjoying that amount. Now, this show, I can tell you, I don't know, I think this is like the 8th roundtable talk show that I've done, and it's gone by very fast. Usually I'm like, let me think of some questions, let me pull people in, and now we're at 8:55. So I'm going to start something earlier than I usually do, but for you guys, I think it's the right time. At the end of every show, I always allow my guests the opportunity to speak a few brief final words to our audience, to whoever's watching live on Facebook, as well as whoever's watching in the archives, and just give them a last final message. So I want to start with Goddess Gloria.
All right, thank you. I think the message that I would like to share with everybody is that when we leave these bodies, there's nothing that we can take with us. The only thing that we can take with us is how we treat other people and how they treat us. And so I challenge you to be the best that you can be for yourself, and love yourself, honor yourself, so that we can all know how to love and honor you as well.
Wonderful words to live by. Thank you, Sir Aimézing.
I would like to share with everyone, if you haven't written a personal mission statement, I strongly recommend you use this time to do it. And I know time is short, so I'm going to get right to mine. But it's follow God, be a leader, live without fear, believe in yourself, carry your family's name with honor, trust the process, help every person you can, obtain generation-changing wealth, be a legend, make an impact on the world, represent belief and discipline, love fully, never compete, maintain a positive attitude, always keep the end in mind, seek to understand, to be understood, complete tasks on deadlines, make my money, make money while I sleep, give money, give more, maintain humility and confidence, applaud your successes, love and trust your partner.
That was beautiful. Is that written down somewhere? Email that to me.
Yeah, that's great.
That's my written personal mission statement. I strongly recommend everyone write their own. It's something that you can read daily, and it keeps your mind focused on the end goals.
I want to copy and paste yours. That's what I want to say. Your mission every day, because that's my mission too. We in this together, so amazing.
Yeah, we here. I got you. I can send that over.
Alicia, what you got for us?
What I would say is, and it kind of echoes what Goddess Gloria and Sir Aimézing have said. I really feel like now is the time to really be introspective, to really go inside of yourself and really evaluate what your priorities are. And if you find that your priorities are not where they're supposed to be, now is the time to rectify that. Now is the time to spread love to your family, to let them know how much you love them, just because more than anything, coronavirus has shown us how quickly life can be taken from us and how quickly things can change. And so we just want to really keep a positive attitude and again, help others however you can. Bring someone up. If you're climbing up to the top, you're climbing up that ladder, reach down and bring someone up with you. And if you do that, you will go so much further. I have seen it a million times than it just go along your own way. Just as you meet each person, try to leave them in a better state than they were when you first met.
think that's
Love that.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Will.
Well, Sharifa, first of all, thank you for organizing this and welcoming me on. This has been such an amazing experience to hear this, amazing group of viewpoints. Sir Aimézing,
welcome.
hey, to your point about personal mission statement, I love yours. I'd love to get a copy of it. Mine is a little shorter, but I'll share mine. It's to make sense of the world and to share what I learned. It's mine. To your point, Alicia, I'd like to, from my friend David A. Fields, I think he has a very wise saying, which is, and I think it's more pertinent now than ever, which is he measures his wealth in terms of relationships. And I think that really hits home today.
Wow.
And then just be a little self-promotional. I'll mention that I am putting out about a podcast a day now, and I'm trying to put out some useful material that I think will be helpful, especially to entrepreneurs and independent professionals. So I'm publishing almost daily at it's any podcast app, iTunes, Spotify, Overcast. If you look up Unleashed, How to Thrive as an Independent Professional, some of the tips I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Episode 238 is around tech tools you might want to think about. 239, marketing collateral. 246 around investing in your skills. And so I'm putting up about a new episode every day, Unleashed, How to Thrive as an Independent Professional. And again, for folks who are just joining, if you run a small business and are looking for some pro bono support, if you go to umbrex.com and go to the pandemic playbook page, we have a link where you can request support from our consultants. And if you are a consultant, you can also volunteer on that page. We're connecting consultants who are willing to give pro bono help to small businesses who are seeking to figure out how to respond to and how to develop a plan to respond to the reduction of business caused by the pandemic. So thank you so much, Sharif. I really enjoyed being part of the show.
You're welcome. You have definitely been a pleasure. Invite everyone to go to your website at umbrex.com. Please utilize the resources. Will has taken his time, as well as over 200 volunteers, to be there and to be of service for you. So definitely check it out. Now we have our ground reporter on the ground in Greenville, South Carolina, who's going to take us out, Jackson Gosnell.
Well, I think it's important to note for everyone, even from a young person's perspective, that we're all in this together, and the times are difficult, but we're all going to get through this and persevere. And just keep that in the back of your mind, that you're not the only one during these times that are experiencing this hardship, whether that be economically or emotionally, whatever. I just think it's important to remember that we are together in these times with the coronavirus that's caused so many problems. And I would echo what Sir Aimézing said: make an impact on the world. Utilize this time to improve yourself, work on yourself, maybe finish some projects that you previously started and couldn't close out. Myself, with the whole journalistic thing, one of the projects I've been working on is trying to do Facebook Live more and give the news to my audience a bit better. And I've been having an opportunity to do that each night now, because there's not really anything else to do, and it provides a good time for me to just connect with my audience and just chat with them, see how everyone's doing. And a lot of people are missing social interaction right now. And I think that though it's virtually, it's a great way to communicate with others and kind of get to understand each other a bit better. So that's what I would say. We're in this together and we'll get through it.
I love it. I'm getting emotional over here just listening to Jackson's
Aww.
speech. Like I'm almost want to cry. And it's because people talk so much about the negative. They talk about these kids who are out doing all these silly things during the virus. I've seen some of the silliest videos where I'm like, these kids just don't get it. But then you have someone like Jackson Gosnell, who you can look at him and be like, you know what? He gets it. So you, if nothing else, has just gave me a feeling of, you know what, there is hope for the future. I don't have to worry that, after we're gone as mature adults, that the world's going to go, in a different way. So thank you, Jackson, for being you. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Thank you for everyone who tuned in live to the show, everyone who's watching in the archives. Thank you. And I just ask, as always, that you support the show and you support our guests, because today, they have given amazing tips. It's just, they brought their A games today. A+, everybody gets an A. You got an A+, Jackson, for today. I love it. So share the show, support the show. And if you're interested in being a guest, please visit the website at asksharifa.com. We'll be back tomorrow on Thursday at 8 a.m. Everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.